We released the Elova top earlier this summer, and you may have noticed that this version is not quite like the others. There is now a pattern hack available for those who might either want a simpler shell top and would like to keep using the pattern for additional looks. In this version, I left out the welt pockets, but that decision will be completely up to you. Tutorials for both versions of welt pocket sewing can be found on our YouTube page and website. This is a great modification if you plan to use a thinner fabric that might not be structured enough to accommodate the center front buttons. The reason you'll need to move the closures to the shoulder is because you'll need a larger opening to get your head through versus just closing the center front and trying to slip the finished garment over your head. For the pattern adjustments, I'm beginning with the back yoke. I want to extend the left shoulder seam toward the front by a little. So first I'm identifying the original shoulder seam and folding along that line. I've traced and mirrored the back yoke and now have a full piece. You can see that I've labeled the original left shoulder seam. I'm using these 11.5mm buttons, so I need to keep that in mind as I'm deciding how much of an extension to add. In the end, I added 1 1/4 of an inch from the original shoulder seam, not the cut line. I marked a button placement line for a future step, which is 3/8 of an inch up from the original shoulder seam line. I'll need to trace a bit of the front neckline onto this in order for the final seams to lay nicely on top of one another. So I'm identifying the seam line on the front left shoulder seam and folding along that line. Then I match the front and back original shoulder seam and trace the front neckline onto the back neckline. Now the back yoke is ready to cut out. Next, I'm moving onto the front bodice by tracing it and marking the center front, which is where the button placement is indicated on the pattern. I draw the center front fold line, which becomes the new grain line. Mirror the opposite side and label the pattern with all necessary information. I draw in the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance onto the back left shoulder seam and fold along that seam line. Then I also draw the original seam line on the front left shoulder. Match the front and back shoulder seams and indicate where the button placement will be. I'll need to fold this area back on itself to create a double layer, since the buttons will need a more reinforced area to be attached to. I'll also need to extend the shoulder toward the back because the finished back shoulder will end up laying on top of the front. I'm cutting almost all of the front bodice out, leaving the left shoulder area so I can work with it to determine what the extension will look like. I'm using the buttons to get a visual of how much I'll need to extend. Drawing where the new seam line plus 1/4 of an inch seam allowance will end up being on that extension, as well as tracing the neckline. I ended up adding a 1-inch extension from the original seam line, not the cut line. Here are the pieces I will cut for my test sew: the new front bodice, original back bodice, new back yoke, armhole bias binding. I'll need extra binding for the front neckline. You'll also need the welt pocket pieces if you're including welt pockets in your garment. I'm cutting this out with some leftover fabric from a pair of lightweight pants I just made, but I would caution against making this version in a heavier weight fabric. The full sewing tutorial for this pattern is on our YouTube page and our website, and also linked in the instructions for the pattern. So I'm going to skip over some of the sewing steps and get right to the necessary steps for this variation. You're going to notice that I instruct you to follow some steps that look a little different than what I'm doing, and that is because you're watching me work through the steps as I'm testing out my thought process, and I made some changes along the way. Begin with finishing the darts, welt pockets if you're adding them, and the back pleat. Then attach the inner back yoke to the bodice, followed by the outer back yoke, according to the steps in the original instructions. Here I have the side seams attached using French seams already. You can begin with finishing the front neckline first before moving on to the next step because it will be a little bit easier for you to work with. I got a rough idea of the length needed for the front neckline bias and cut it out. The original bias piece is 1 1/4 of an inch wide, and it's that wide because the instructions guide you to fold it in half to create a double layer bias. The fabric I am using is too thick for this, so instead I'm going to cut it 7/8 of an inch wide and pre-press a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on one side of the bias. The bias will end before this fold line on the front left shoulder, and the raw edge will live under that area that gets folded back on itself. The bias is attached to the front neckline with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and I'm clipping the curve so the neckline will lay flat when it's finished. Press the seam flat and turn the bias to the wrong side, but we won't finish it yet. Now you can attach the left side seams and then attach the bias to the armhole using the same steps as the neckline. Trim the bias ends so they won't extend past that fold line. Next, I'm going to finish this front shoulder. I'm folding the bias to the wrong side of the neckline and armhole with the pre-pressed seam allowance tucked under the bias. Fold the shoulder extension back on itself with the right sides together. Then fold the 1/4 inch seam allowance up. The next stitch lines that are applied will run on the inside of the bias stitch lines. I'll flip this so you can get a better look. The stitch line here will be to the left of the stitch line that already exists. And I'll make sure to catch that seam allowance that is folded up in the stitch line as well. In the end, you can see I've caught the seam allowance in both of those stitch lines. Next, I want to trim the corners so they'll turn out nicely. This is when a heavier weight fabric is a liability. If you're using something light like a cotton lawn, this will turn out so much easier. Turn both corners out and push them through with a corner turner if necessary. You can see this bias is naturally turning itself to the wrong side because of how I stitched and pressed it in the earlier steps. Press flat and top stitch the folded edge closed. Next, I'll finish the neckline, but leave the left armhole bias finishing for a later step. I'm moving on to the yokes, and in the end, we want this back shoulder to be finished with the raw edges enclosed inside the yokes. Before we burrito method these yokes, I'm going to attach the right shoulder seams to one another using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, just like in step 32 of the original instructions. Bring the yokes right sides together. In this next stitch line, I'll be closing the shoulder seams and the back neckline. Undo the burrito and notice all of the finished seams, including the left shoulder seam, which will overlap the front. Trim and push out the corners as necessary, and then press flat. Next, I want to finish the armholes. You can finish the right armhole according to the original instructions, but the left armhole will finish a little differently. Neatly fold the raw end over the finished seam and then bring the bias all the way to the wrong side of the armhole. This will get top stitched down. Press flat, and now you're ready to put the buttonholes in and attach the buttons. And here's the finished garment. Next week, we are highlighting bar tacking as not only a great way to make clothing more durable, but also how to use it as a nice detail in your handmade garment.